Hello, everybody. Warm welcome. The highest in me bows to the highest in me. It'll be a beautiful day. All right, please be comfortable. Eyes can be open or closed. So I'm going to say a few words. Notice what happens when you hear those words. Traffic, late, balloon, stab, comfortable, explosion, tragic, speed, results, scar, heaven, storm, helpless, light, relief, support, truth. So I just said a bunch of words, which means my mouth made certain motion, tongue made certain motions. And that led to the air getting compressed in certain ways, tonality changing. So a bunch of sounds was created from my mouth. And then technology being what it is, that was able to be translated by my earbud and converted into some electronic impulses, which reached my laptop, which then traveled through the internet to your device. And you could hear it either through your speakers or your headphones. But it didn't end there. The words that, imagining you knew the meaning of most of those words, and each word had its own frequency. Certain kinds of words, terrorist, tragic, explosion, stab, wound, will create certain kinds of images and feelings. Certain kinds of words, comfort, support, harmony, ease, flow, will create certain kinds of images and feelings. I was having a conversation with someone and I noticed how their choice of word was, as I understood those words, creating certain experiences within me. And I realized if I could just experience their words as a sound, if I could just say, okay, just a sound, then I did not have that same experience. When I experienced it as words with meaning and intention, They had a certain impact on me. But when I experienced them just as sounds, not so much. So I want to bring our attention to how, in a way, susceptible we are. Anybody can come along and say anything, and how easily it'll affect us mentally, emotionally. Similarly, with things we see, somebody can write us a message, an email, can write us a letter, and the things we read there will have an impact on us as we understand them. The other day I was on a flight, and the flight attendant was collecting garbage, whatever, collecting the waste from the meal. And I also gave whatever cups and all I had. And she made a strange face. I didn't know why she made that face. I couldn't understand what she was upset about. So, but then she went away. But I just think, oh, someone makes a face, and then that's confusing. Why is she making a face? What happened? What's wrong? So what I'm trying to say is that how easily, in fact, we're almost designed that at an auditory level, hearing level, anybody can say anything and it can have pleasant or unpleasant effect on us. Anybody can do anything, can have a pleasant or unpleasant effect on us. Then our body, of course, there is such a lot of capacity for pleasure and discomfort so easily. If your pillow isn't right, you'll have a bad night's sleep. If your shoes aren't right, you'll not be able to walk comfortably. If your clothes are not right for the weather you're in, then you'll be uncomfortable. So this is just something I was contemplating, that actually so little of this is in our hands. You can't really control what words other people will use. You can't always control what's going to show up in our visual field. You can't always control what smells we'll smell. I was in Florida recently, and there's something called the red tide. Red tide is a kind of a ocean algae that spreads, and that leaves certain kind of pollen or something into the air. And many people in Florida are getting affected by asthma because of the red tide. That's completely not in their hands. How do you control what's happening in the ocean? And then how it affects the air. And then some people are susceptible, some people get affected. So just noticing how the reality is that we really don't have too much control over this. This is the predicament. We would like our life to be smooth and easy and without troubles. But at any point, someone can say something that we don't like. Someone can do something we don't like. We can see unpleasant things, smell unpleasant things, taste unpleasant things, experience unpleasant things. So this is the first half, this is the challenge. This is the issue. This is you could call it a problem if you like. This is the predicament. And in some sense, it's almost like we are designed to be so sensitive. Loud sounds will disturb us. Extreme temperature variation will disturb us. Lack of our favorite foods will disturb us. Lack of the kind of clothing we are used to or comfortable in will disturb us. How easily we get disturbed. Then, of course, that elusive sense of security. What is security? Financial security, emotional security. How easily any of these things can disturb us. And if they do make us feel good, because of course they can make us feel good as well, each of those things can make us feel good. But because they're unstable, then there's the fear of losing what's good. There's the fear of losing access to your favorite food, your favorite places, your favorite music, your favorite things, your favorite people. So just stay with this for a moment. Recognize how fragile and susceptible we are at one level. How very fragile and susceptible we are at one level. Change of weather, change in health, the change in relationship dynamics, change in the global economy, change in any of these things can have a huge, big impact on us. Buddha has a powerful teaching. He says, Uttasaloka dhammehi chittan yassana kampati. In the ups and downs of life, the mind doesn't waver, doesn't tremble. Asokan, sorrowless. Virajang, stainless. Hemang, secure. Etang mangalam uttamam. This is the highest blessing. Uttasaloka dhammehi. Loka dhammas, the ups and downs of life. Gain and loss. Happiness and sadness or unhappiness. Fame and disrepute. Fame and obscurity. Praise and blame. These are the loka dhammas. These are the 8 winds that will hit us from all directions. They'll hit us 8 multiplied by sense doors. They'll hit us on the ear sense door, eye sense door, nose, tongue, body, and mind. That's a really turbulent environment. But it doesn't end there. Chittang yassana kampati. From this turbulent environment, can a lotus rise up? So it's not just pessimism or bad news. There is a turbulent environment. There is a muddy environment. But from this, can a lotus rise up? Chittang yassana kampati. A mind that doesn't tremble, doesn't waver, doesn't shiver. Asokan, Virajam, Khema. Sorrowless, no sorrow. Stainless, not carrying any scars and stains. Khemang, secure, secure. Different kind of security. Not the security of always getting what you want. Different kind of security. Security knowing that you will not always get what you want. Byron Katie says that suffering is arguing with reality. So we've explored that reality is so actually designed against our always being comfortable. Sounds can disturb us. Sights can disturb us. Smell, taste, touch. And as we all know, most of all, our own mind disturbs us. Even if these things are comfortable, even if you're not having unpleasant sounds, unpleasant sights, unpleasant smells, unpleasant taste, unpleasant touch. Maybe most of us are not immediately having highly unpleasant states. But the mind can definitely disturb. The mind can imagine unpleasant sounds, somebody saying unpleasant words, unpleasant sights, someone doing something we don't like, or things happening that we don't like. The mind can imagine those things, isn't it? So the reality is that there is a tremendous amount of instability in this realm, insecurity in this realm. This is the reality. So don't argue with reality, Byron Katie says. Suffering is arguing with reality. Or instead of saying, don't argue with reality, because I don't know, you can always control that. Notice what happens when you do argue with reality. That's probably a better way of saying it. I shouldn't be this way. He shouldn't be that way. She shouldn't be that way. They shouldn't be that way. Life shouldn't be that way. But it is. But it shouldn't. But it is. But it shouldn't. But it is. And keep on fighting. It shouldn't be that way. All right. But it is. This is the way it is. So the lotus we're talking about that's rising up from this highly turbulent environment. Chittan yasana kampati. A mind that does not tremble, does not waver, does not shiver. Sorrowless, stainless, and secure. So this is a kind of a riddle that we have to solve in this lifetime. How, with such a susceptible body and mind, body that's so susceptible, sense doors that are so susceptible, mind that's so susceptible, how in this highly fragile environment can one achieve something like a sorrowless, stainless, and secure state? This is a puzzle we have to solve in this lifetime, or at least we're invited to. It's a challenge that faces us every moment of every day. And whether you understand it or not, know it or not, you are constantly engaged. You are constantly engaged in addressing this challenge. What are the common ways we do it? If I lose weight, it'll all be okay. If I get along with my family, if we all understand each other, it'll all be okay. If I follow my heart, do the things I want to do, it'll all be okay. If I have more money, it'll all be okay. If I learn more, practice what I learn, it'll all be okay. Can you see what we do? We come up with all kinds of ideas. If so-and-so happens, it'll all be okay. And we try all of these things. If I sleep better, if I eat better, if I exercise more, if I'm a better listener, a better communicator, if I achieve this or that goal or complete this or that project, learn this or that thing, it'll all be okay. And sometimes you can spend a whole lifetime in that. But then once in a while, like in a session like this, someone confronts you to your face and says, is it really true? Is it really true that the healthiest people in this world don't get affected that way? I was looking at a list of the fittest sports people in the world. And they said number one is LeBron James, basketball. Number two is Cristiano Ronaldo. Considered one of the fittest people in the world, fittest players in the world. But Ronaldo, as you saw in the soccer matches, he gets very upset, very offended. He's gotten offended with his manager in the past. He's gotten offended with his teammate. He was crying when they lost the match. So you can be the fittest, healthiest person in the world, super fit, super talented, super famous, still be very sad, still be very affected, still be very offended, still be very, he said he felt betrayed by his manager in the past team. So once in a while, we need to be confronted and said, is it really true? The strategy you've made for yourself. That when I achieve this or have this or become this or learn this, then it'll all be okay. It's time to get real. So it's a riddle or a puzzle that demands all of us. We really have to be completely true to ourselves. I'm not really here to solve this puzzle for you. I'm here to make it very clear what the puzzle is, what the riddle is, what the predicament is. What would it take in a world that is almost designed for our disappointment? What would it take in the middle of that kind of world to have a mind that doesn't tremble with fear? Asokan Virajan Keman, sorrowless, stainless, secure. Etang Mangalamuttama. This is the highest blessing. This is the highest blessing. This is the main project in this lifetime. Whether you phrase it this way or not. Somebody says, no, I'm not interested in this. I'm a business person. Well, actually, you're still interested in this because you imagine that by success in your business, by employing a lot of people, by making an amazing product or selling an amazing product or service, somehow you will go beyond hearing unpleasant things, seeing unpleasant things, smelling, tasting, touching, thinking unpleasant things. Is it true that those who have been extremely successful in business, when you think of the most successful people, almost everybody will think of Steve Jobs, the first 10 people, I'm pretty sure. But then his life is not particularly happy. He was quite arrogant. He was quite stubborn. He was very, very mean to many people in his life. So we don't deny his accomplishments. But we can't necessarily say that he was sorrowless, stainless, and secure, can we? So I'm going to say that every single person is in the same boat, actually. Whether you recognize it or not, admit it or not, acknowledge it or not. And some people are looking for the relief in art. Some are looking for it in religion. Some are looking at it in spirituality. Some are looking for it in health, fitness. Some in relationship. Some in accomplishment. Some in service to others. You're looking for the same thing. I'm not here to say that one is the right way, one is the wrong way, but we just have to be honest with ourselves. I suspect it is possible in any field of endeavor. Could be business, could be sport, could be art, could be relationship, could be religion, could be spirituality. I suspect it is possible in any field of endeavor with the right approach, the right attitude, with appropriate wisdom, appropriate attention. We can come to this place. But it'll require all of us. It'll require all our honesty, all our integrity. Nothing less than all of us. And we don't have to prove it to anybody else. We don't have to prove it to our parents, to our partner, to the Pope, to me, to anybody. We don't have to prove anything to anybody. We just have to do this for ourselves. We're doing it for ourselves. So I don't claim to have a final answer to this puzzle, this riddle, but I'll give you a few hints that I found helpful. Then you see if it's true for you or not. One hint comes from Tenzin Palmo, Tibetan nun. It's also been my experience. She's a Tibetan nun who lived high in the mountains in a cave for 12 years. One day she was chopping wood and the axe slipped. And she accidentally gashed her thumb quite severely. So she was in a lot of pain. She's quite high up in the mountain, so there's no easy access to doctor or anything. So she wrapped her thumb in a scarf tightly to slow down the bleeding. And she went and sat in her meditation box. She used to sit and meditate. She told me the story when I met her. She said that it was extremely painful. And she decided to give all her attention to the pain. She said, if my body wants me to notice this pain, I'm going to notice it. Give all her attention to the pain. And she said, instead of being dragged by the pain, like imagine pain is a horse that's dragging you. Instead of being dragged by the pain, what will happen if I ride this horse of pain? You understand? What can be worse than being dragged by a horse? Can't think of anything more painful than that. But it's also it can be in the same situation. It can be a lot of fun to ride the horse. You decide to ride the horse. What does it mean to ride the horse? Stay with the pain. Don't create stories. Oh, I'm going to lose my thumb. Oh, I'm going to get infected. Oh, I'm going to die. Oh, there's nobody here. Oh, my life is so sad. No stories. Oh, how stupid of me. Stay with the pain. So she said, as I began to stay with the pain, even though it was very intense, it began to feel like an orchestra. Orchestra. There's beating. There's thumping. There are all kinds of musical instruments. There's drums. There's pulsing. There's vibrating. There's flutes. And as you look at it, it's not just one sensation, it's many sensations packed into one sensation. There's a lot going on there. So as she rode the horse of pain, this expanded into an orchestra, pulsing, beating, thumping, poking, pinching. And she said that she had one of the deepest meditative experiences of her life as she dived right in the middle of that pain. No escape. You can't, if you stand outside, you're going to get dragged by the horse of pain. You have to go inside the middle of the pain. She went to the middle of it. She dissolved herself into the middle of it. This is a clue. This is a hint. Like saying the way out is through. This is an important hint for all of us. So when sounds are disturbing you, the answer is not in fixing the sound. You may or may not be able to do that. The answer is in the sound itself. We had this teacher who was meditating in the meditation hall, and two carpenters came and began hammering and drilling. They did not realize it was the meditation hall. They'd been asked to do something. They did not notice someone sitting. They did not feel that their work will disturb them. So they were happily hammering away, talking away, chatting away, drilling away. quite loud. And he kept sitting there. He sat for an hour. When he got up, some of the monks asked him, "Weren't you disturbed? All that talking and banging and drilling, didn't that disturb you?" He said, "When I began, I was meditating on the breath. But when they began, I made sound my meditation. I made sound my meditation." Wow. So instead of being disturbed by the sound, getting angry at these people and saying how ignorant of them, how insensitive of them, can't they see I'm meditating? Can't they come another time? Can't they see this is a meditation hall? Instead of getting into all those stories, he just said, all right, the biggest sensory activity is sound. So just sound, arising and passing, drilling arising and passing, hammering arising and passing, words arising and passing. Sound happens only in the present. Past and future sounds are thoughts and memories. Sound can be your meditation object. This is one important hint for all of us. Don't just witness the flow, become the flow. Another clue is to, even for a few seconds, ask yourself, what is your experience like without your story? If you don't add the story of, this is what they mean, this is what will happen, this is what I want, this is what they want, this is their agenda, this is my intention. Without all of that extra stuff, what is it? It just is what it is. The story is the extra baggage you are adding onto it. You heard me say many times, reality is kinder than the stories we tell. Reality is kinder than the stories we tell. This is a quote by Byron Katie. In other words, no matter how difficult it is, it's less difficult than what you're thinking about it. Yes, it's uncomfortable. Yes, it's painful. Yes, it's confusing. But the story adds a whole other layer to it. Shouldn't be happening. What will happen next? Oh my goodness. What does it mean? How will it affect me? How will it affect us? So the discipline, even for a few seconds, this is mental hygiene. Even for a few microseconds. Who am I without my stories? Who am I without my thoughts about this, beliefs about this, assumptions about this, opinions about this, preferences about this, likes and dislikes about this? And you'll instantly see the difference. And then you realize, there is what's happening, which may not always be pleasant, can't control that. But then there is my extra added pressure based on that. So let me at least reduce the extra added pressure to the best of my ability. So this is another very important clue for solving this puzzle or engaging with this puzzle. Another possible clue is that life is not happening to you, it's happening for you. It's an interesting perspective. Life is not happening to you, it's happening for you. For what? For your awakening. Awakening what? What kind of awakening? It's like physical birth was one birth, but there's one more birth that needs to happen. To be born into this world, that's one birth. We celebrate our birthday. Oh, you were born on so and so day. But there's one more birth that needs to happen. To be born beyond your sense of individuality, personality, beyond your limited sense of ego. That can be called a birth also, it can be called a death also. Something in you needs to die, and something in you needs to be born. So from this perspective, all that's happening is precisely designed for that dying to happen and that birthing to happen. And the more you welcome it, the more you embrace it, the easier it is. And the more you resist it, the more you fight against it, the more you postpone it, the heavier, more difficult, more demanding it gets. So this is one perspective. So if you take it like that, oh, this is prasad, this is ashirvad, this is a blessing, this is a good medicine, this is exactly what I need. I know I don't like it. I hate it actually. But this is what I need. This is good medicine. Bring it on, bring it on, bring it on. Infinite patience is the fastest way. Infinite acceptance is the fastest way. Loving, embracing everything that is the fastest way. And it starts making the ego more and more transparent, more and more smooth. Of course, we still have an ego, we still have preferences, likes and dislikes, but it's more and more transparent, and more smooth. As long as there is this life, most likely there will be an ego. Very hard to operate without an ego. But that ego is no longer in opposition to life. It's aligned with the way things are. So it's functional rather than dysfunctional. Our neuroses come from the avoidance of legitimate discomfort. There will be some discomfort in this life. You'll not always hear what you like, see what you like, smell, taste, touch, or think what you like. There will be some discomfort and disappointment in this life. We get neurotic when we try to dodge that. There is legitimate suffering in this world. Life is difficult. It's a quote by Scott Peck. There's a lovely quote by, I think, Jack Gilbert, I think. We must have the stubbornness. We must have the stubbornness to embrace our gladness in the ruthless furnace of this world. We must have the stubbornness to embrace our gladness, accept our gladness, pursue our gladness in the ruthless furnace of this world. We must have the stubbornness to follow our gladness in the ruthless furnace of this world. And that's yet another hint of how this lotus can blossom over this turbulent, muddy water. But you don't need to be spoon-fed. You're perfectly capable, each and every one of you. You don't have to depend on my answers or any of these answers. You will have to grapple with this predicament in as honest a way as you can. Not like you have a choice. Always, the predicament is always there. This whole life, there will be this predicament. And the more you recognize the predicament, see it for what it is. I mean, even recognizing it is such a big deal because there are people who just get disappointed. Why is my life like this? Why is my destiny like this? Why is fate like this? That's very, very heavy. Not realizing that this is everyone's predicament. Even the people you think are successful and happy and rich and famous. You name it. They also have this predicament. There was this show on television many years back, The Lifestyle of the Rich and Famous. And this TV show, the anchor of the TV show, goes to a billionaire and says, "You're a billionaire. Are you happy?" So the billionaire laughs and says, "Anyone who thinks that being a billionaire makes you happy is not a billionaire. Billionaires have billionaire problems." So even to know that there is a predicament itself is a very big deal. We may not have the answer yet, but you realize it's the condition, it's the human condition. No matter how you sugarcoat it, no matter which part of the world you're born in, no matter what culture you're born in, what religion you're born in, what gender, what race, what sexual preference you have, what belief system you have. We are all in this predicament. Nobody escapes it. Even the avatars don't escape it. Nobody escapes. So to see the predicament clearly and then to engage with it, to grapple with it, takes all of us. And you can do it half-heartedly. And you'll find that it continues to bother you every moment of your life. Or you can engage wholeheartedly, the way Tenzin Palmo engaged with her thumb that was half cut. Engage with it wholeheartedly. What is this? What is this? What's going on here? Here we go again. Here we go again. Again, something has offended me. Again, something has disappointed me. Again, something has betrayed me, abandoned me, let me down. What is going on here? What's really going on here? One thing that helps is separating my business, your business, God's business. In this situation, what am I thinking, saying, and doing? It's my business. What are they thinking, saying, and doing? That's their business. And what's happening in the way it's happening is God's business. So start by focusing on your business. It's another important clue. Because as we know, no matter how close they are to us, we can't control other people's thought, words, and actions. Best of luck. Best of luck. Doesn't work. Perhaps most of our energy is spent with our close loved ones, trying to influence their way of thinking, speaking, acting. And year after year, again, no real difference. How much we're going to bang our head on that wall? Uttasaloka Chittang yasana kampati asokan virajam kema etang mangalamuttama etadisani katvan sabbattama parajita sabbatta sotyam gachanti tang te sang mangalam. Those who live like this, practice like this. Sabbattama parajita. Wherever they go, they are victorious. They cannot be defeated. Sabbatta sotyam gachanti. Every kind of happiness comes to them. Tang te tang mangalam. This truly is the highest benefit, the highest blessing. So in today's practice, the predicament has been made clear, and a few hints have been given about a possible resolution. But ultimately, you will have to find your resolution. These are just hints. You will have to find not only your own intellectual answer to this, you will have to find your actual answer to it. You can read menus, you can read ingredient lists, you can read recipe books, but until you eat that, it's not going to satisfy you. Until you drink that, it's not going to quench you. Ultimately, it's in the furnace of our life, in the ruthless furnace of this world, that we will have to find our solace, our security, our foundation. And as friends, we can encourage each other. We can share our experiments. We can share what's working, what's not working, what's helping, what's not helping. We can expose each other's blind spots. We can expose each other's inconsistencies, contradictions, and that's helpful. The wish that people clearly see this predicament, living beings clearly see this predicament, and have the courage to grapple with it and be victorious over it. This wish, this intention, is one of the purest, most lofty intentions available in this universe. May all living beings see the predicament, engage with the predicament, grapple with the predicament, and quench that primal thirst. One of the cleanest, purest, highest intentions available. So when we say, Mera mangal ho, Tera mangal ho, Sabka mangal ho, this is what we mean. Mera mangal ho, Tera mangal ho, Sabka mangal ho. May I see the predicament. May you see the predicament. May we see the predicament. May I grapple with it, face it, engage with it. And may I rise up like a lotus. May you rise up like a lotus. May we rise up like a lotus. Asokam Virachan, Hema, Etang Mangalavattam. Please stay with yourself for as long as you like. Whenever you feel complete, you can open your eyes.